This daf Yom Yerushalmi Shevi'is in the article Oz V'Hara edition around the daf Pei Hey Amud Aleph. We're at the middle of this longish Mishnah, and we're up to Ankos and Principle in the Vilna. I can find it on my desk here. We are up to should be Chavtes on the days. In the Mishnah, the third line down towards the end line, Ankos and Principle El Karka. Okay, so that's where we're up to. Ankos and Principle El Karka. You only write principle on land. If he doesn't have land, then the Malva is Mezaka him some land in his field. But here, if he had land, but it was some as collateral to another loan, that's good enough. Principle. You can write for a person on the basis of the property of his wife, and Yisomim and Nichse Apotropin, the property of their apotropos of their guardians. So obviously these are not they don't own these properties, but nevertheless, you some don't own the properties, but that Chazal were lenient to that respect. In that respect, says the Mishnah further. Kaver's Dvorim. What about a beehive? Rabbi Lezer Me'arei Karka. It's like ground, especially as a cause of which he learns. Replacing a prusbul, you write prus on it. Then kabel's tumah, because it's like land. Some kabel tumah koma went in its spot. Further than a Shabbos, somebody who moves honey from it on Shabbos, since it's mechubar karka, chayev is liable for harvesting from the land. Chachorimim ain't a karka. It's not like land. It's not like the karka. Ain't because of a prusbul. Therefore, you can't use it as the basis for a prusbul. And it becomes tamei where it is because it's metalklin. For the men of the Shabbos, part of somebody removes honey from the Shabbos exempt because it's not real. It's not mechubar karka. It's not considered like karka. Next part of the Mishnah. Hamaxucho b'shmius. If somebody gives back loan during Shemitah, no, after Shemitah, in other words, lo yomar omer lo, the Malva has to say to him, Mishamideni, I renounce the loan. Im omer lo alpha b'chein, if the Lord says, nevertheless, I want to pay back, you can accept it from him. Shemar zed dvar ha-Shemitah. Only has to speak with the bear, the Shemitah doesn't have to actually then follow through and reject the money altogether. Similarly, wrote a murderer b'shogeg who went and goes in an ir miklat. The people say want to give him covet. Yom alem, you should say rotzechani, I'm a murderer. They say if they say afa bichein, nevertheless you want to be mechabed you kabel mehen, allowed to accept from them. Because Shemar is Zed Var HaRotzeach, the same principle. Zed Var HaRotzeach, meaning that all he has to do is say I'm Rotzeach, but he doesn't actually have to. Once they accept that, he's a Rotzeach, and nonetheless, when I'm Mechaber him, he said his Dibor. That's what he has to do. Okay, so that's the Gemara. Going back to the first time Mishnah. Puzbul Mukdam Kosher. A puzzle which is written on a date earlier than Erev Rosh Hashanah is Kosher Nation Mura Kocho. It makes it gives the Malva less koyach, because then any loan which is dated after the prusbul, he's going to lose. He's going to have to relinquish it. If it's written later, so then, in other words, the date written in it is not the date on which it was actually written. It's a puzzle named Neshiapakov because it gives him more power of authority to the prusbul should apply to loans which are written after this date. Because obviously the later date of the prusbul would indicate that they're still collectible. V'amuchorin kisheim migneshu meireo kocho. So I skip. Sorry. Shiter chov hamukdam b'sulim. Shtar chov, which is written with an early day as possible. The shapa kocho because it strengthens the hand of the Malvet, in other words, he's going to have access to the chasim mishubadim, which were given over, which were sold to people before the actual loan took place, but after there's one of the star, and that's no good, obviously. But Mukharin Kshim, if it's the later the star, the better. In other words, even they wrote the star on Hey Tishrei instead of the star that should only take effect Hey Cheshvan, it's just making matters worse for the Malveh because he won't be able to collect from fields sold between Hey Tishrei and Hey Cheshvan. Mimodia. How do we know if a star is muktam or not? They all look the same, right? So, Rabbi Shimon Bar Abba said, "Eida b'chosim b'shtar, chosim b'shtar." The Eidim will tell us it's a muktam, the ones who signed it. So, wait a minute. How can you believe them? Who came and cheated shuvin and choser magid, right? Principle is that once you said testimony, you can't recant it. So, and here, they made the words of the Eidim who signed on the star, as if they testified. Once they signed, as if they testified based it. It's like in based where principle came chicken shuva and choser magid. Once you say a testimony, you can't take it back, and to offer alternative testimony. Here too, we'd have the same problem, right? When they signed, they didn't say it was muktam, right? They just said they signed the star, so it's as if they said in Basin that it's not muktam. So later on, how can they come and change that and say it was muktam? So the Gemara answers, the case where they where say came chicken shuman and chazar magid by a star is where they say we never testify. That we don't accept because we have the testimony in front of us. They him on the star. But if it comes to the date in the star, it's an interesting idea. They could say, well, we signed for the mountain loan, but we didn't sign for the date. And evidently, since Ikar testimony is on the amount of the loan and the existence of loan and its amount, it's not to test for them to testify on the that's in fact they did not this when they signed it was not that day, it was written it was written early, they signed that day, but the day in the start was an earlier date. Yeah. It's interesting. The Rash Surah brings down from the Razah, holds that say about where they're not being machshir their own chasimos. I guess then theoretically they're not because they're not kind of aided. I don't know why that should make a difference. Actually, I don't know. Okay, never mind. Say some more further. Here it says Itmar in the Kavanaki, which is not saying the Gemara itself. Itmar is a Bavli Lashon. I don't know. Anyway, there's the statement of Tamaroi. Rabbi Yochanan Psuli Mamish. Shtar Chob Muktam is actually possible. Totally. It's Mizuyah Mitocho. It's false. So it's nothing. No. It's possible for the amount of time before the actual date in which that was written, but it is effective for anything money which was meshubah after the actual loan was contracted. So as Shlomo says, "Animal mishasaksav." V'tanya adin approval ben mukta ben ucha kosher. They're approval whether it's earlier or later. Not like our Mishnah. It's kosher. The animal mishasaksav, but we don't pay attention because we don't pay attention to the date. We just pay attention to the time when it is written. So it seems like only approval. has this halacha. It says prusbul. It doesn't say prusbul and stram shtar malveh. Only prusbul. So how can you say shuba shtar malveh? Then that's where it concludes. Vim oimer at came shtaras ma ben prusbul ma ben shtar. This is they're going to say that this applies to shtaros as well as prusbul. So what's the shin shtar and prusbul, which is mashma here? That was thinking of prusbul out to have different circumstances. And the Gemara does not resolve that. It leaves it difficult, so evidently that's a tifta to Reish Lakish and a right to Rabbi Yochanan. And it is interesting that it's passing in the Shulchan Aruch. Shitrei chov muktam psulim v'loiv v'shtar muktam el bnei chayrin. You can be goyver with it, but as if it's a milval peh. So don't say that since there's a fishy business going on here, it's nothing, but it's only like a milval peh, which is not good from Shabbat. Okay, Tanya. Tanya is again in the Kavnoki, but not elsewhere. Shtar shizmanakos of Shabbos. The Zman in the star falls. The Zman in the star falls on Shabbos. Or Basar B'Tishrei, Yom Kippur. Rabbi Yehuda, which obviously wasn't in that day. Rabbi Yehuda Makshev, Rabbi Yossi Posel. He says kosher, and Rabbi Yossi says it's posel. Amar lo Rabbi Yehuda. We said to Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Yehuda said to Rabbi Yossi, "Whoa, Ma'aseh b'Afanech Tzipor. If Yechshar the answer to Ma'aseh Tzipor, then he says good." So how come I possibly? Amar lo says that ani lo ichsharti. First of all, I didn't say it's kosher. V'im ichsharti, but if I did say it's kosher, I must have had a reason to say it's kosher. I don't recall the reason. Perhaps so the Kabbalah suggests that the reason is that it's to talk about if he puts in Okimta, which is not explicit in the Gemara. They say that the Adam said that we were it says explicitly in the star that we were asked about the date of the star, and the date of the star is Shabbos, and we testify that we actually wrote it after Shabbos. Okay, but I think it's just an example. So Rabbi Yossi is saying, okay, if it's machshir, as a specific okimta, there are extenuating circumstances which don't apply elsewhere. Having blind man, I want to say, man the Amar Puzzle. The one who says that the star whose man's custom Shabbos or subdish is puzzle, Mishum Ma'uchar. Mishum Ma'uchar is tricky here, because it means the loan was later, and therefore the star is muktam. The loan was later, not the star. Minor kosher, it says kosher is Mishum Muktam. It's the opposite. Again, not the normal usage, but rather the star was the loan was given before the star. It was given on Friday. In fact, it says the date of Shabbos and star is just because we wanted to give a day grace period, but it's not going to collect from the Shabbat. So that's what they wanted to say. But actually, the Gemara brings that the Kabbalah brings down here. That if we have Machlekes Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Yossi, halacha is like Rabbi Yossi, and this is difficult according to Shimon Lakish. This is the gross pshat. It's difficult to Reish Lakish because Rabbi Yossi says it's possible. So how can altogether? So how can Reish Lakish have said before that it's kosher from the time which truly took effect? It's as possible altogether. So the Lakish answers, "Elamanda marpos mishum ziyuf." The one who said the Reish Lakish says that were the chashash because of muktam. Sometimes Rabbi Yossi wouldn't possible altogether and say it works just from the thing, which is how it's actually written. But here's different. It's a mezuyev mitoicho, because either the Eidim were testifying sheker, right, an inside on Shabbos, or the Mechalei Shabbos. So therefore, it's mezuyev mitoicho. The star it's self destructs because it has this nonsensical date it put attached to it. So why does Rabbi Yehuda say it's okay? So you have to say it's like the previous one said they weren't mashgiach on the date. They were mashgiach on the sum, on the amount, but not mashgiach on the date. And that brings us to the top of Pei Vav Amud Aleph, and therefore we'll stop here for today.